Hey guys, thought I'd give you a quick little update on the 1991 Wrangler YJ Blue Meanie V8 swap project. Um, I don't exactly remember what I went over in my last video, but I will kind of go over what I've been working on recently in general. I got my smoke turn signal housings in, as well as my new headlight bezels. I put my LEDs back in it, and I painted these headlight guards metallic blue because they were a little faded, and I figured it would go with the car, and it does. I'm really happy with how these turned out. I think the smoked turn signals combined with the black housing LED headlights is a really cool look for this car. Um, and just it matches the rest of the front end being black anyway, so it's pretty cool. I also got a Holly air cleaner put on, as well as a oil fill cap. I had a Spectre Performance PCV kind of breather, but I had two problems with that. One, I wouldn't be able to hook the PCV breather up to anything because this carburetor doesn't have a port for that, at least not at the front, and the port on the back I'll be using for the brake booster anyway, so I wouldn't be able to hook that up. And two, it didn't really fit in there. It pushed in and it didn't wiggle a ton, but it did wiggle, and you could just pull it right back out. It's super easy, so I was worried that, it had like no pressure holding it in really, so I felt like if the engine was running and there was crankcase pressure breathing, or it had crankcase pressure, and just from the vibrations in general, that thing would probably just fall out. So I got this also Spectre oil fill cap, and that fits perfect. So kind of weird, but I took my brake booster off because I'm going to be getting a new one. And let's see, what else did I do? I ran my fuel line to the carburetor with a little Edelbrock inline metal fuel filter. So you can see that's coming down to the fuel pressure regulator. The fuel pressure regulator is hooked up to the fuel line, and soon the fuel line will be hooked up to a fuel tank because I sold another Jeep that I had. It was a 95 Grand Cherokee Limited 5.2. It was a huge piece of shit, so I didn't want to dump money into that to be able to drive it comfortably, so I sold it for $1,200. I had also sold a pit bike that I had for $500. So with that money, I was able to buy literally everything I need to get this thing running, plus some other extras. So this week, I have everything's coming this week. I got a battery, everything for the fuel tank, filler necks, gas cap, tank breather, rollover valves or whatever, lines for those. I have a radiator coming off Summit, as well as a radiator cap, radiator hoses, and a fan spacer to run my flex fan on the front. And hopefully it fits. If it doesn't, I'll just have to get a shorter fan spacer, because I will fit a flex fan behind there. I also have some other stuff like distributor plugs to be able to plug in my distributor to the factory wiring harness. I have a alternator and starter coming, as well as like the wires for those. And I also have, these are the extras. I got slapper bars for the rear end, and I have QA1 weld-on shock tabs for the rear end because I have these shock bracket, or these leaf spring plates have shock mounting provisions on them, and I was going to use those, but there's a problem being that these go this way, the factory mounts go that way, and they also aren't aligned, so it wouldn't work with a shock without me having to like bend the crap out of them, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to run weld-on shock tabs going from the factory mounts to somewhere on the axle tube. Just because that's a lot easier. And I also got my differential resealed. It was weeping a little bit, so I just took the cover off, resealed it, filled it back up a little with like a quart of gear oil just so that it has oil in it. Obviously, this thing's not going fast or moving with under its own power anytime soon, but just for the time that it does, or just for the time being, I have a little bit of oil in there. I also put my spare tire carrier and spare tire on. Obviously, that's not a permanent spare tire. That would be a spare tire that would only work on the front end because they're different bolt pattern. I'm probably gonna get just a basic steel wheel with both bolt patterns. Because what I want to do for wheels is I want to get just like GM, like Corvette rally wheels. I want to get 15 by 10s for the rear and 15 by 6 or 7 for the front, or maybe 14s for the front, because this is how the car sits, with 14s on the front, 15s on the rear. It has a little bit of a rake to it, and I do kind of like that. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. I also took my mirror off this side because it was junk. I don't know if I'm going to be taking the bracket for it off because these bolts are pretty roached. They're Allen head bolts, and I could not for the life of me get them out. So that might just be staying there. I might make an attempt at it. Maybe cut slits in these bolts and try and whack it with a screwdriver or something, but just for now, I'm probably going to leave that in there. Not sure if I went over this in the last video, but just in case I didn't. Oh, also, tail lamp lenses. I got my half door for the passenger side put back together. As you can very obviously see, it's a darker blue because that was a color that I was testing out on just this half door to see if I liked it for the whole car. I don't really like it for the whole car. I think it's kind of funny looking with just the mismatched door, so I might run that for now and then eventually paint it to match the rest of the car. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been working on. Like I said, this thing will have everything it needs to run by the end of the week, this coming week, and I can pretty confidently say by the end of the week next week that it will be ready to run, if not running. So I will put out a video whenever I have everything together and in the car. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, I will see you guys later.